us here, wherever you're tuning in from. My name's Andrea Sampson. I'm the CEO and founder of Talk Boutique and the Thought Leader Academy. And I'm joined today by a very special guest, somebody who I've known for many years. He's a dear friend, but also somebody I really respect and honor for the work that he does. Darius Bashar is a creativity coach, a meditation teacher, and a photographer. His work has generated over 100 million views and has been featured on Time, Apple, and USA Today. What Darius does is he helps people to quiet the noise, to open their heart, and to access deeper courage, clarity, and imagination. Welcome, Darius. I'm so excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm excited because I get to see you twice this week, which is really exciting. You're going to be joining us at our salon on Thursday. And so, for those of you who may not have gotten your tickets yet, please make sure um, to join us at Bridging the Possibility Gap, and you can get your tickets right there. You can see it on the screen. But I thought because not everybody is here in Toronto and not everybody will be able to experience the amazingness that is what Darius does, that maybe we could take just a few moments right now, ground ourselves before you and I have a conversation. Are you game to play with us, Darius?
I'm always game to start things off with a grounding. I feel like if the world, if politicians, if executives all started with a little bit of grounding, I feel like we would take exponential leaps forward.
Yeah, I could not agree more. All right, I will hand the mic to you and let you take us through a little bit of a grounding.
Sure.
I'm
Okay.
gonna maybe
Yeah.
what I'll do is turn off my camera while you do this so that let me see if I can. I may not even be able to do that. Don't worry about it. You keep going. There I go.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So I want to just say before we go into the grounding that when Andrea reached out to me and you know told me about this salon series, I was like, "That's amazing! Yes, more hope. Yes, more possibility. Yes, more connection between people." And um, I'm very excited about the salon on Thursday, and I think it has tremendous potential. And there is a way in which that I can show up, that you can show up, that we can show up to salons, to our meetings, to this session here and not really be here. You know what I mean? Like you're here, but you're not really here. And the magic lives in when we can really be here, when we can be really present. And it's never been more difficult than ever before not to be present because there's a million things happening on my phone and in my inbox. And so, for the time we have together, we're going to do our best to just be here, just to be here, whatever that means to you. And so, let's start real simple. If it's available to you, what's it like to close your eyes? And if you can't close your eyes because it's not possible for you, maybe you can just like stare off gently into the distance. And let's just take a moment here in the stillness. Wow, the stillness has so much energy. Can you feel that? And I want to say if your mind is racing, it's okay. That's what creatives' minds do. You don't need to quiet the mind. We can just practice by just being here now. And let's take a nice deep breath together. Breathing in, hold at the top, and letting it go. And when we we breathe intentionally, when we take longer, deeper breaths, when we make some noise when we exhale, we signal to our system that it's safe. It's safe for us to be here. It's safe for us to be here inside. We move from the top of our heads to the top of our bodies into our heart space. And you know there is magic in your heart space. And so let's just take a moment here. If you're open to it, maybe just place a hand on your heart and just connect with your heart. Breathing into your heart. Just giving yourself a chance to land here. If there's any part of you in the past, an earlier meeting, something that happened this morning, something that happened yesterday, any part of you that's not here, that's stuck in the past, let's lovingly bring those parts back, 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 back to center, back to their home, back to your heart. Let's breathe into that place, breathing in and out. And if there's any part of you that's in the future, thinking about what's going to happen later today, later this week, what could happen next month, next year, we're going to lovingly call those parts back, 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 back to center, back to their home, back to your heart. This position, this posture here now is the most powerful seat in the world, actually, the most powerful seat in the universe. This position, this posture here and now is the position in which you can create the most change. We can't change the past. We can't change the future. Right here, right now, if we are able to bring 5%, 10% more of our presence and really be here, that's a superpower. So before we end and come into a conversation, just take a moment to feel what's alive inside your heart, whatever it is. All of it is valid. Maybe it's excited, maybe it's nervous, maybe it's scared, maybe it's ecstatic, maybe it's something totally different. All of it is helpful. All of it is aliveness. And when we practice allowing our heart to take up more space, we actively step into creator consciousness, which for me is the most hopeful place we can be. And so just take a moment here to notice if anything's different. Maybe it's exactly how it was before we started. And maybe, just maybe, something's slightly different. Okay, when you're ready, slowly opening your eyes and returning back here to our space in our conversation.
That was so
Hi.
interesting. Thank you. Thank you. That for everyone who joined us, that was really incredible. I don't know about you, but I feel much more here, much more grounded.
Mhm.
Truthfully, slow.
Yeah. It's incredible. I do this a lot with my clients whenever I can, and it's amazing to me when we open our eyes. It's like, "Is this the space we were in just a moment ago?"
Mhm.
It's like we actually access a whole other dimension, and it's just, for me, clear that, like, in that other place where we're not breathing, where we're not grounded, where we're not actually here, we're leaking energy. We're
Mhm.
leaking focus. We're leaking connection. We're leaking really listening and being here with someone else. And, it takes one moment, one sentence, one idea to change our lives. And how many of those are happening every day? But we're like in a million different places.
It's powerful. What comes to me as you talk, and certainly as we were just doing that exercise, and it's the part of it that I think so many of us miss and forget. It is the presence of now. Yes, of course, we all hear that, but by asking us to think about those parts of ourselves that are in the future or in the past, and inviting those parts of ourselves to come back and join this moment. I think that is for me always the most powerful part of the type of exercise you just did, because I think I speak for so many. We're always living in, what do we need to do next, or what have we already done, and evaluating our own performance, our own, what we offered, the value we offered, the whatever it is that's going on in our minds. And so these minds we have are so busy being everywhere, but where we have our power, we are not able to actually do the thing that's in front of us.
That just gave me goosebumps. Our minds are so busy everywhere where we don't have our power.
Yeah.
Right? And when we pull the energy here where all the power lives, here where all the power lives, we become more powerful.
And
Yeah.
and what happens, 'cause even the physical what you just did, that sort of pulling it, you're bringing it to the heart center, and I think what often happens is we forget that this like, you and I are in a conversation. There's people watching this conversation, and thank you for all of you who are watching the conversation. I do want to acknowledge you, and please feel free to comment. We'll try and access that as we go along. But in this moment, you and I are in conversation. But more than just being in conversation, we are in each other's presence. And presence is such a gift. It's also a tangible thing. There is an energy between us that we're picking up on each other's thoughts, each other's body language, each other's, just intonations. And what happens is what we co-create together, because that's what's happening. This is a co-creation. We're each bringing now all of who we are into this conversation. And if this conversation is governed by a question or by a problem or by an opportunity, um, what we have is the ability to be fully present with that and to access all of who we are in the ability to think beyond what got us together. And I think that's incredibly powerful. When I do things like salons, which you're going to be at, that's why I always govern it with a question. I'd love to hear your thoughts around the container you've created and the co-creation that comes from it.
Hmm. Which container are you referring to?
That, like, by bringing us into a place of grounding,
Mm.
because that to me is a container, right? We've created that
Yeah.
container.
Yeah. So what I noticed when I opened my eyes, I could hear you better. It's really wild. Like and I don't know, some scientist is going to explain why I could hear you better. Meditation guru will experience, like, I don't know why. I just know I can hear you better.
Mm,
I'm like really here with you. I'm not like doing this energy. I'm just
mm,
here and I'm listening to you. And I'm here with you and I have more capacity to be here with you. I'm not trying to think about that thing and that thing. And so what would happen if we actually listen to each other differently? So like that was the catalyst for pitching you on this sort of, alternative way for me to be a part of this. I'm like, man, I know your speakers are going to be great, but another speaker, if I was going to come just speak, I'm like, if people aren't able to listen past a certain capacity, then it's not going to get in, and all those great ideas aren't going to get in. So how can we create a container that allows for more capacity? And what people don't get is, if you have 5% more capacity, that's game changing.
mhm,
5% more capacity, because what we're talking about is thought, leadership, and thought, and ideas, and innovation. And it takes one person saying one thing and it actually getting through, and it can change your life. We've all experienced that, in a book, in a talk, and so, um, my hope with the container is we can allow people to be just a few percent more present, a few percent more open to receiving, a few percent more open to connecting and listening, and so that we can start uh, being those catalysts for the change we're looking for, and being the hope. Like, the hope hope is not a one person game. It's a team game. We need participation.
As
And yeah, I was just gonna say, if we're all playing in our own worlds, then it's hard to like connect and integrate. And what I'm hoping is a little bit of this container opening allows us to like consciously come into this bubble together.
yeah. And just to give some context, Darius, I invited Darius to be a speaker at our salon, and he came back to me and he went, maybe, but actually, here's what I'd like to do. And this is, what I love about Darius and his approach. He's not what he brings and what he brought to me was so much more than just a talk. And as you just heard, he's bringing the ability to bring a room into a place of coherence, because that's what we're doing, right? That's what we just did. We created coherence. And it doesn't matter when you listen to this, you're listening to it live, maybe you're listening to it on replay. We there's so many scientific studies in quantum physics and all the complexity of it. But there's, a pretty good school of thought that says, we are in a quantum world. And that quantum world means that no, whenever you experience this, you are experiencing it along with all of those who have ever experienced it. And so in this moment, as we have just come from a place of container setting, of grounding, of connection, of energetic alignment and coherence, what we now have is a space for creation that couldn't have existed. And that's what Darius does. That's what he will be doing at the salon. It's what he just did right now. And I think the reason coherence for me is so incredibly important, and especially as we think about the businesses we have, the work we do in the world, in order to do anything, we need others. We cannot do anything alone. And that's what, Darius was just saying with hope. And so if we've created alignment and coherence, we've got an opportunity for things to expand and evolve and become something more. So that creative container is what we're creating through the idea of questions. And where Darius took us was into the realm of hope. And what I'd love to hear from you, Darius, is I know what I think of hope and why I think it's so incredibly important, but I know that today we're living in a world that has never been more complex, that has never moved more quickly. And, again, we can get into all the physics behind it, but actually our world is speeding up. And and there is scientific knowledge and thought behind that. But even if you don't want to go into that, we just know that our days are more filled and our lives are more fast. And and it seems like every time we, connect in with the world through the various media that we choose to connect in with, there's one more thing happening that seems to impact us. And I think the world needs hope now more than ever. And yet I also think that everything is designed around us to take hope away from us. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Mm. Yeah, on the topic of the things going faster, it's really interesting. I heard on a podcast recently that our ancient ancestors apparently, the amount of stimulus we get in a single day, they got in their whole lifetime. There's so much happening. Yeah. And to answer your question on hope, so it's really interesting. When I read your initial email, I had a very specific reaction to it. And it was very helpful for me to like unpack that and just be like, why is that? What's happening? And initially, I felt guilty. And then I came back to like, no, I don't have anything to feel guilty about. And here was my reaction when you're talking about hope and how everything you kind of just said. I was just like, I don't have that experience at all. I feel like this is the most hopeful I have ever been. This is the most hopeful world I have ever lived in. And then I was like, dude, are you in a bubble? Are you in a fantasy? What world? Like that other voice comes in. And the truth is, for me, I believe that everything is a belief. Everything. There's no such thing as 11:55 a.m. That's a thing we made up so that we can actually jump on a live together, right? There's no such thing as like a Darius. That's a thing people made up. My parents made. Everything is a belief. Everything is made up, which is awesome. And everything is true if you put enough belief behind it, right? So it's like, for me, that is the ultimate um, creator consciousness.
Mm,
And so, yes, I have a bubble around me, and I made that bubble, and I worked hard for that bubble, and I earned every inch of this bubble. And my bubble just keeps growing to be able to bring more people into this bubble. It's not a solo bubble because, like I said, hope is not a solo game. So yes, there are other competing bubbles that are trying to like, I'm like, no, my bubble's solid. And it's a privilege to be in this bubble. And I think privilege is a beautiful word. I don't think it's a bad word. I know for the last little bit it was like a bad word, and it's like, no, I have this privilege, but for me privilege is intended to be shared.
mm,
There are certain things that I can do that my ancestors couldn't do that other people can't do, and I'm going to distribute that and share it with as many people as possible as opposed to feeling bad about it,
yeah.
right? So that hope bubble can grow. So yes, I know. Like I come from a land. I left a country, Iran, in the middle of a war and an Islamic revolution that killed members of my family. Like I know what war is. I know what death is. I know what like the many of the pains, not all the pains of the world. So it's not like I come from a place of like la la land, but all of those hardships actually make me work harder for this bubble because I know how easy it is to get caught in that other bubble and how it could spiral very quickly and how I become ineffective.
Mhm.
I am useless when I'm in that frequency.
There's a saying that I come back to often, which is, we don't have the luxury of a negative thought, you
Mm,
know? And I think it's really important because what you're really talking about is the fact that, like, we create the worlds around us by the stimulus we provide ourselves with. It colors our self-perception, it colors the way in which we perceive everything that comes to us. And often, and this is something, and often when I talk about purpose, hope, and gratitude, this comes up a lot, which is, we create our future by the stories we tell ourselves. And so what you're saying, the bubble that you've created, what you're calling a bubble, is really the story that you're building around yourself about your life, about the people around you, about people who come into it. And that's important because that story is the creation you're making. And I always say, like, if you don't believe me that we create from the stories we build, all you need to do is back 70, 80 years and go, what stories were we telling ourselves 70, 80 years ago? That takes us back to the 50s and the 60s. And what were the stories? What were the pop media stories we were telling ourselves? Well, if you look at pop media in that time, it was the beginning of science fiction and science fantasy. And we saw a whole lot of tales that were being told around dystopian futures and robots taking over the world. And it got progressively more and more and more over time, of course. But we are now living what we told ourselves in those days. We see some of the tools that some of those early science fiction shows gave us are showing up in our everyday. The
Mhm.
tablets that we write on, are these are things that came from science fiction and science fantasy. So creating this bubble is really, really important. And the other thing that you talked about that really reminded me of something, you said the stimulus that we have today in one day is what our ancestors would have lived in their entire lifetime. And I'm reminded of a TED talk that I worked on with a scientist. And you may even remember this one because I think you were involved in those days. Um, so Keith Vendeland is a cosmologist, and he talked about spending a year in Antarctica, which is the coldest place on Earth. And as a cosmologist, the reason, just for anyone who's curious about this, is because it's the driest place on Earth. And in order to see the universe, which is what cosmologists look at, you need to be able to look at these incredibly powerful lenses. But one of the things that he related to me as we were working together, and I never forgot this, he said, living in Antarctica, we only have 1 day night cycle a year. So what that means is for most of the time he was there, it was dark.
Mm.
And of course it's white, right? Like it's frozen. So he literally lived in black and white for almost a year. And when he left, they stop over, I think it was in New Zealand, as he was, and you spend some time decompressing. And he said, when I got off the plane, he said the colors, he said they were overwhelming, like overwhelming. He's like, I couldn't actually look. I had to keep closing my eyes. And then he said, when I woke up the next morning, the fact that it was light and then it was dark again that night, he said, it overwhelmed me. He said, it took me a good week and a half to get used to actually day and night again.
Mm.
And it really stuck with me because how much do we take for granted of the world we live in, the bubbles we've created around us, the people we invite in, the media we look at. And I think what I heard you say was that there was a real intentionality around what you choose to allow into your world. And that colors you in the way of creating a hopeful now and therefore a hopeful future. And I wonder how many of our listeners and how many people who may in the future hear this have thought about what they're inviting into their experience, the amount that they're processing, and the impact that that has, not just on them, but on everything they're creating. And so when you think about your world, I mean, I know you're a new dad. Congratulations.
Thank
And,
you.
as you think about your son's future, and he's this beautiful little life right now, innocent, and curious. What what is the vision you have for the life you're creating for him that will color who he will become?
Mm. Yeah. I I it's so hard when you have kids because you it's easy to slip into like, and this is what I want you to do. Like every morning, I get him in the mornings, we have our little rituals and we sit down and I secretly put like a piano next to him and a book. And I don't like, I really want you to be a musician and I want you to read. So we're going to start your rituals, and he's just looking at me and I'm like, maybe this will get through. But mostly I just want him to be able to access as much of his heart as possible.
Mm,
That's it. I think most of the world is set up in this like let's help people feel better. Like 99% of it's like let's feel better. I'm going to do this thing to feel better. I'm going to do that thing to feel better. And there's this different paradigm I learned through Michael Brown and his book The Presence Process that was like instead of trying to feel better, let's work on getting better at feeling.
mm,
you know? And that for me is everything. So it's not about like good feelings and bad feelings. It's like, how can we create safety and security to like experience sadness, experience grief, experience rage, experience our sexuality, experience our joy, our, pleasure, our fear, all of it, you know? I don't know how your audience is with spirituality, but I know that it's true for me that I really am a deeply spiritual person. And I believe our souls chose to come here
mm.
in this world, in this time, with these parents, in this body, with this president, with this prime minister. Like they chose a piece of
Yes.
this. And a part of that was to experience, explore, express, and so it's not about it's like all emotions have are colors, and to of course the artist is going to see them all as colors, just paints buckets of colors, and I want Teo, my son, and my daughter Ariel to know that they are not the colors. They are the creator, and the colors are in front of them. And you want all the colors. You don't want to say, like, throw this one out and throw that one out and throw this one out. And then, oh, I only have one color that I'm going to like live with.
Mm,
Right. All of them have value to us. All of them, like, how many projects and businesses and songs and books were written through pain and sadness, right? Like there's all of them have something for us, and my hope for Teo and Ariel and all kids are just like the safety and security to be able to access all of their hearts.
I love that. That is so beautiful. And I think what you said, it's not to get in touch with our feelings, but it's how did you say that again?
The intention is not to feel better, it's to get better at feeling.
The intention is not to feel better. It's to get
Get
better at
better
feeling.
at feelings, which means all of them.
Yeah. And doing that by really sort of deeply connecting in with the heart. And, Ariel and Teo both have an incredible father and an incredible mother who are both, I know, deeply, deeply spiritual and heart-centered people. And I think they are set up in life to begin with that. And I can imagine where this will take you and where that will take them. Um, from a place of hope, because that's what you're creating. You're creating you're creating a world of hope, and I think that is the thing for me as I create, if I as I create projects like the Bridging the Possibility Gap salon that we're both gonna be at, that was the reason why, because I truly, truly, truly believe that conversation can change our world. Good conversation, conversation that's informed by, um, ideas that open us to new ways of thinking with people who think differently than us. And that's
Mhm.
important. And I'm excited for what we're going to co create on that evening. And I know that for so many, it may be a little different. It may not be what they're expecting, but what you're going to create is the possibility for us to bridge that gap by opening it. So, Darius, thank you for being my guest today. Is there any last things you'd like to leave our guests with today?
Come to the salon. Come meet people in real life. The internet's a fun place, but real life is a whole other thing. I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to me. I've been so comfortable in this desk on the internet doing things, but it's great to like push our comfort zones, take creative risks, try things, say hi to new people. Um, yeah, the thing I'm on podcasts a lot, and the thing I always go back to, and I don't want to end on a downer, but it's the truth of the of what life is. Like there is a last breath out there looking
Mm,
for each and every one of us. It's looking for you. It will find you. Nobody makes it out alive. That's how this beautiful thing called life works. And God willing, it finds you in 50, 60, 70 years, but nobody knows. It might find you in 50 minutes.
yeah,
So if there's a thing you want to do, if there's a person you want to meet, if there's a talk you want to give, if there's a meditation you want to teach, if there's a dance you want to take, don't wait. Don't
don't wait.
wait. Yeah, say yes before you are ready. Yeah.
Beautiful. And how can our guests stay in touch with you? Where do they find you?
Probably the best way is artistmorning.com. If you go to artistmorning.com, if you want to come meditate with us, there's, meditation groups. If you want to come write with us, there's Writers Club. If you want to, just be in community with kind, creative humans, artistmorning.com will have everything you need. And then if you want to find me on the internet, it's just my name, Darius Bashar. And I hope to maybe possibly meet you in real life on Thursday.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you so much again for joining me. And I've just put artistmorning.com there. So for our guests, they can see that. And thank you so much for your time today. This has been an absolute pleasure. And thank you for all of you who joined us live and for all of you who are watching this on the replay. And if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, make sure that you go to salonseries.ca, get your tickets, join us on Thursday. We are going to have a blast. Thanks so much, everyone.
Amazing. Thank you,
Bye.
Andrea. Thank you, everybody.